and welcome to Pixel Talk. I'm Caitlin Tobias, your host. Today I'm thrilled to have Huckleberry Hax with us. Huck has been a resident of Second Life since 2007 and is a true creative force. He has written several novels set in Second Life. He's a poet, a video maker, and the mastermind behind the award winning film Stonewall, the first full length movie ever shot in Second Life, and its sequel, Waarheid. Links to all his works are in the description below, so be sure to check those out. Welcome, Huckleberry. So nice to have you here. Um, did I miss something in the introduction?
Thank you, Caitlin. I don't think so. I often point out that I don't think my I don't think that Stonewall was the first full-length machinima, but it's very nice that people think that it is.
I like to think it. So, today we're going to chat about your latest machinima project, Hotel Victoria, a series of which season 1 starts this 2nd of December. Fun fact, I'm also part of the series as assistant director and actor, so I have been seeing some of the magic up close. Speaking of magic, Huck, let's start at the beginning. What first sparked the idea for the Hotel Victoria and how did it grow from that initial idea? And how does it differ from your other project or Stonewall?
Well, Stonewall and Varheid, of course, were science fiction films, and this is not science fiction. It all came out of a news story that I heard about during COVID, which was of a hotel caretaker, as we would call them in the UK, essentially living in a hotel by himself during the COVID lockdown, and his job was to make the hotel, just to maintain the hotel, to kind of turn the taps on and off every day, and to keep it in a good state, ready for such a time that guests and residents, were allowed to return.
Mm-hmm.
And this was something that was featured on the television news, and lots of people were talking about just how strange it must be for a single person to be alone in a large building like that. It certainly captured my imagination, and at the time, I think I thought this was the only such case. But subsequently, I learned that actually quite a lot of hotels had single caretakers living in them over the lockdown period. But
Right.
anyway, it kind of got me thinking. There's a story to tell in that, and I think in the initial phase, I was thinking about perhaps one day writing a novel about that. And then I got discussing it during the filming of Varheid. I discussed this idea with Marina Munter from the GBTH project, and she was really keen to persuade me to do that as a machinima project. I think she was thinking a film, but then when I then started to kind of develop it further, it kind of turned in my head into a shorter form video, like a series basically. So I'd kind of done the long form video, the two feature length films, and was curious to explore something that was serialized, something that we could release parts of week on week. And yeah, and that's how it kind of turned into the idea of a show that would run over, as it turns out, a couple of seasons.
A couple of seasons. Okay. Well, that sounds interesting. And one of the things you did brilliantly this time is building the sets for this project. And since we are sitting in the actual hotel lobby for this talk, it feels right to ask, how did you create the Hotel Victoria building and other sets in Second Life, both technically, tools, constraints, and artistically, making it feel cinematic? Did you have a clear vision from the start, or did it evolve as you went along?
Gosh.
It's a
Well, I mean,
lot.
first of yes, it's a lot. I mean, first of all, it was important to me to create the entire set for this particular machinima project. So in Stonewall and Varheid, I used other people's constructions, buildings, installations, sims, regions, and so on. I did. I think I did create a couple of the sets in Stonewall and Varheid, which I found a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And also, of course, having your own set means that you're not dependent upon people keeping their installations open when when they want to close it and change it and move on to something else.
Yeah.
So having my own set meant that I didn't have to worry about getting things filmed within a certain period and so on. So then obviously, yes, I knew that it was obviously it was going to be a hotel, and I didn't have any conception at the moment as to whether that would be what sort of a hotel that would be. Some people will know I've got quite a fondness for mid-century brutalist architecture, so
Yeah.
the opportunity to kind of create my own brutalist build was too much for me to ignore, and I quite liked the idea of it being a seafront hotel, because for various reasons that would give a greater sense of emptiness and loneliness to the caretakers context.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not really a person, I'm not very good at visualizing how things will look, so obviously in constructing the hotel I was very reliant upon finding images online of hotels, of decor. Once I decided it was going to be a mid-century construction, and I decided it wasn't going to have changed a great deal since its initial construction in the, let's say, the 1960s. Then I was kind of looking for images that I could use, and it actually started with with just the reception desk
Yes.
over my left shoulder, I think, from your
Yeah.
perspective.
I will show it
Uh,
later. Yeah.
Nice. And I just had this. I think I probably found a couple of images or photographs of 60s hotel receptions, so I kind of designed it around that, and it just kind of grew and grew from there into the hotel that you see today, kind of just feeling my way really as I constructed it. And yeah, so it didn't kind of start from a single vision. It very much evolved as I created it. In terms of what I used to build it, it's mostly just good old fashioned prims, and really all of the magic comes from the textures that are used.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and of course, along the way, I've been sourcing various items, furnishings, and so on from the marketplace that fit the overall aesthetic,
Yeah.
to create this kind of mixture of kind of some old looking aspects, some mid-century looking aspects, with a few kind of more updated things like the vending machines on
Yeah.
behind me on my right side. Um, uh, and then when it comes to kind of making it feel cinematic, I think it's that combination of textures, of lighting, and then ultimately of angle and composition. So the same place that can look a little bit pedestrian in normal Second Life view can look much more cinematic if you're using a bit of a zoom, getting the angle right, getting the
Mm-hmm.
lighting right, and so on.
Yeah. I should ask, how long have you been building on this hotel? I know, but I think everybody else wants to know. How long did it take you to build this hotel?
I mean, it was a long time. I think I began construction in, I want to say, something like February 2023,
Yeah, I know.
and I didn't really start filming until, well, at least a year later. So it was at
Yeah.
least a year I spent working on this build, getting it right. I mean, I'm still fiddling with it now, adding little bits and pieces here and there, but yeah, largely speaking, it took a year to construct.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a long time, but I think it will show all the care and effort you
I
put
hope.
in it. And because I've been involved, I've seen a lot. I've seen the characters and their dynamics up close, of course. So how do you develop them in machinima? Do you evolve them as well as you film, or are they planned from the beginning?
Well, I mean, I've spoken about this before in various interviews, that I
Mm-hmm.
generally tend to kind of evolve things as I go. And as a Second Life machinimist, I have that luxury because I have the set, I have the time. It's not like I'm hiring people to be working on the project for a particular amount of time. So it's not like like a commercial film project where you really do need to get everything, that you want to film in your head right, and then on the script right before you start on the first day.
Mm-hmm.
So it has been an evolving thing, very much an evolving storyline. That said, I think I've been a bit more organized in that respect than I was for Barhide and Stonewall. I mean,
Yeah.
Stonewall, I had absolutely no idea what direction that was going to go in. Varhide, I had a little bit more idea, and I would say that for Hotel Victoria, I had a bit more idea than that. There was a point where I actually kind of wrote quite a bit um, to kind of determine, what the storyline was going to look like. So I had a reasonable sense of roughly what I wanted to happen when I started filming, and that's still the case now. But when it comes to the business of filming individual episodes, I'm often floundering at the start of of an episode to kind of determine, how I'm going to, what exactly I'm going to depict in this episode,
Mm-hmm.
in order to get to the next kind of major kind of plot point, how I'm going to depict that, how I'm going to structure it, and so on. So it's a bit of both. It's a bit of having that sense in advance of roughly what's going to happen, and then on an episode by episode basis, kind of working out what is the story I want to tell in this particular part of the overall story, and how am I going to do that?
Yeah. I was thinking, of course, I don't make these kind of projects, but for like with Stonewall, you started with basically not really an idea. But for this,
Mm.
maybe it's different because you have episodes, because it's not one long movie, but episodes that require a different approach.
Yeah, it does, because you kind of have to tell. There has to be a beginning and a middle and an end to an
Mm-hmm.
episode. So there needs to be an internal structure to an episode. Whereas I suppose the closest comparison in Stonewall and Varheid would be the kind of the separate kind of acts, which obviously aren't explicitly identified, but when you look through those films, you can kind of clearly see this is where things are being set up, this is where the investigation's happening, and so
Mm-hmm.
on, really. Whereas with an episode, you kind of, you kind of, each episode does also need to have its own acts, but it has a completeness to it,
Yes.
despite the fact that it's part of a bigger story. That's
Yeah.
right.
Okay. Right. So, no project goes perfectly. We all know,
Mm.
especially in Second Life, I suppose. So, what were some of the biggest challenges or unexpected moments while making and filming Hotel Victoria?
I mean, I'm not sure that there was, like a big unexpected challenge, as in something kind of going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But there's lots and lots of little things that that would go wrong. So in other words, I think most commonly, for example, is, when you go through that process of thinking, what do I want to tell in this episode? Of course, even with my experience of machinima, I still overestimate what sort of animations are available to
Yeah.
me in Second Life, because these machinima are told through they are depicted through a process of either using animations that I've bought from the marketplace, or animations that I've found in animation stores in world, or there are animations that I've created myself. And creating animations myself, there's no easy route to doing that. I'm just using an in-world tool for that. It's all hand animated. I don't have a like a motion capture device to create my own animations from real world body movement. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
always, I'm always still overestimating what's possible, and inevitably the kind of the sequence that I have in my mind in the first instance has to go out to the window when I realize the animations aren't actually available for me to do that, and I have neither the time nor the skill to create it myself. So then, of course, you have to kind of start thinking more creatively about how can I depict these things happening? What camera angles can I use to kind of obfuscate the fact that I'm using two quite completely different animations here, but to make it look like one kind of movement between them, and so on and so forth. So finding the animations is always the challenge. And then I suppose the other big challenge is, has been that for at least a couple of the episode, well, more than actually probably every episode, there is at least one part of the episode where there's a quite complex sequence to depict. So in episode one, for example, and actually this is the scene that I've kind of used for the preview excerpt. You've got the protagonist and the hotel manager standing out the front of the hotel,
Mm-hmm.
talking whilst the camera pans in on them, and then in the background you've got lots of cars going past on the seafront road. And that was a very complex scene to set
Yeah.
up. I had to use a system called Rescene, which is quite popular with machinimas in Second Life. But it took a long time to get that set up, to get all of the timings right, and so on. There's a big scene in episode two that took a long time to work out. A similar thing in episode three, a similar thing in episode four. So in each episode, there's kind of like a headline scene, if you like, which
Mm-hmm.
might not be obvious to the viewer as a headline scene, because some of these things go unnoticed by the viewer because they're just things happening. But those took a lot more time to choreograph and to engineer, if you like, than perhaps I had originally anticipated would be happening in this show. But then that's all part of the fun of it, really, isn't it? Is realizing that you could do something like this, and then working out how to make that possible.
Yeah, yeah, I know it. I know it. I was thinking because I've seen you work here a lot, of course, and it is a matter of thinking out of the box with animation, not looking
Yeah.
for because you want something specific, but you can't find it because it's not used in that way. But I don't know if I make sense.
Yeah,
But
repurposing
yeah,
animations, absolutely,
yeah.
no question about it. Yeah.
So you have to think first. So what kind of movement would it also could it also be, and then
Yes.
eventually you or you don't find it at all. That happened, of course, as well.
So when you're looking on, marketplace for animations, you do have to think laterally, because
Yeah.
almost inevitably, the first search that you put in comes up with zero results,
Mhm.
and then so then you start thinking, well, what other movements might somebody have made an animation for, which might actually fit the bill here, depending upon camera angle and how fast we speed up or slow down that movement, and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that repurposing thing is
Or
is all part and parcel of the process.
in reverse.
Or in reverse, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. So for anyone in Second Life who might want to try machinima, what advice could you give?
I mean, for me, I mean, I have created a series of tutorials about the process of machinima.
Mm-hmm.
For me personally, I'm not very good at sitting down and reading a guide to doing something. The way in which I learn is really just to kind of get in there and have a go and discover the problems through a process of experimentation. I mean, that's actually how Stonewall started out. I mean, as you'll recall, it was originally going to be a short,
10 minutes.
few
Yeah.
minutes mission. Yeah, that's right. Um, and and it was just kind of fun to try and work out, how can we depict this? How can we do this action? How can we do that action? And then you just kind of gradually teach yourself. And of course, that there are times when it's really helpful to be able to just go into Google and search on, how do I do this, or how do I do that, and find somebody who's written a tutorial, or a video thing about it.
Mm-hmm.
But for me personally, I can't do that thing of sitting down, reading lots of information before I start trying to do it. I think the best advice I can give really is just to have a go. And but then when you kind of encounter a barrier, then start thinking, okay, well, how might I overcome this? How might I find a way of doing this? I've got pretty good now at synchronizing lip movement.
Yeah.
But in the original Stonewall, we had two problems. One was that I just wasn't very good at doing that. And secondly, my avatar that I used at the time didn't have any lip movement. It was
Oh,
just
yeah,
simply
right.
wasn't part of the mesh avatar, so there
Right.
was no lip movement
And
that I
I
could use.
wore a mask, so that was easy.
Exactly right. So when there's a mask obscuring your mouth, that means you don't have to worry about lip movement. And in my case, I was then really experimenting with different camera angles, and so finding those
Mm,
angles and then finding the sequence of changing camera angle when a conversation is taking place
yeah.
meant that actually most people didn't realize that they never saw Epi Stonewall's lips move during that film.
Yeah.
It's not obvious at all, and yet he says quite a lot.
Yeah.
So sometimes those restrictions can lead to quite a lot of learning, really, as to kind of creatively finding your way around it. So yeah, when you encounter one of those obstacles, um, be prepared to be prepared to think creatively around it,
Yeah.
and just have a go and try things out.
Yeah. Just do it and see. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
basically how it works. Yeah. And then finally, you briefly hinted at it, but what's next after Hotel Victoria, and will there be a season two?
Well, that's the plan. So originally it was going to be kind of like a 6-part series, and it became clear to me once I'd got kind of partway through episode 2 that there was no way I was going to be able to conclude this within 6 episodes. And also bearing in mind that I started building the set in February 2023, and we're now almost 3 years since the start of that project. So I was kind of keen to have something finished by around about now, and I knew that the series was not going to be finished.
Mm-hmm.
So it turned from a single series of 6 episodes into 2 seasons of 4 episodes. So we've got 4 episodes coming out for season 1 in December, and then my hope is that season 2 will be available in December 2026, or thereabouts. I'm not going to promise anything at this
No,
stage,
no, okay. No, it's
but
good to know
around
that.
about a year later.
And what? So the first episode will air on December 2nd, and what will
December
be?
the 2nd, yeah.
Can we binge all 4 episodes, or what's? Or are you going to spread it out,
I
publish it?
mean, uh, I mean, eventually you'll be able to binge all four
Mm-hmm.
episodes, but no, I'm going to release them a week apart in
Okay.
the good old-fashioned way, because I
Uh,
think it's kind of fun,
yes.
to sometimes have to wait a little bit to find out what happens in the next part of the story. So first episode, as you say, 2nd of December, and
Mm-hmm.
we'll be releasing them weekly up to the final episode. Season finale will be on the 23rd of December.
Oh, great.
And but then obviously, yeah, if you prefer to binge, then just wait until the 23rd, and then watch them all in one go.
Maybe I will and watch them and binge with Christmas.
And you can do that too.
Good. Okay, Huck. Thank you so much for joining me today and giving us some behind the scenes information about Hotel Victoria.
My pleasure.
Um, for everybody who watched, be sure to check out all Huck's work via the links in the description, and of course, have fun watching Hotel Victoria on December 2nd.
Yeah, I really hope people enjoy it.
I'm sure they will. Thanks again, Huck.
Thank you, Cait.